Hey guys, so I wanted to do a video of something I don't think is talked about quite enough. And it's the concept of looking pretty throwing and throwing far. So I'm going to use me as an example because this is something I went through, and when I learned, not that I ever threw what I would consider far, but what really jumped me to that next level is not worrying about looking pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just
Nice.
turn down the sound. So they both look pretty good. Like just at just looking like you didn't know anything about the sport and you were just looking as a fan. Like they would look pretty decent. I would say. Granted, I'm biased because this is me. And I'm just using me as an example because it's just a lot easier to find film on myself because going through this problem because I know when like these changes occurred and stuff. And the person who told me this was actually a teammate of mine named Corey Gilbert, and it forever changed my outlook of throwing and for the better. So because in high school and most of my years at college, everyone's like, "Oh my god, like you look so good." Like not as not obviously personally because ugh, but the throw, like it'd be like high school coaches would be like, "Oh my god," like like gassing me up and stuff, and like I was young and I was like, "Oh wow, like thank you," like and I was like winning and throwing far, so I was like, "Oh wow, like okay," and it took until I went to college and I didn't have that same success because my technique was tailored more towards the high school weights, though it kind of translated to the college weights, but it just didn't ever feel right. I never felt powerful. It felt like I more got by on my speed rather than actually hitting good positions or better positions, I should say. So this is me like training for indoor season. This is my furthest throw ever in practice. It would think is around like 17 with the 16. This throw was probably like maybe 15. I know this isn't a fair comparison because obviously I'm a year older and all that, but just the positions I hit are just completely different. Even though these throws look kind of similar, the positions led to way further throws because I was kind of trying. This was a slam session. I was kind of trying, but like I was not going nearly for like comp speed. Where this I think was close to like a meet, and I was going like kind of comp speed. So, when you have a really good technique is when you can throw basically as far as you can in a comp, usually with the least amount of effort. Well, let me rephrase that. As Mac Wilkins, I guess maybe he still said, I was about to say, used to say, you want to, a fishing technique is a technique that you can throw far with the least amount of effort. This was just like a range throw, kind of like, wasn't really like, I was trying. Okay, that's a lie. Actually. I was kind of trying to throw far, but like not really. This, I was like going balls to the walls, like trying to slam it. And there's like almost a 2 meter difference between these two throws. So what's the difference? One, my strength levels were definitely a lot higher in this, so that kind of helps. I was also, as you can kind of tell, maybe a lot bigger. Actually, I wasn't that much bigger. I was maybe like 10 pounds heavier in this. This was like in the off season of like my first post collegiate season, so But this is I was like doing a mini peak for indoors, but it's just the stark contrast. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down these positions, and I'm going to explain why this throw, which is the one that looks pretty, and this one, which it does look pretty, but there's a difference because when something looks pretty but it goes I can't even bring myself to say far. I don't consider myself throwing far. Like 16 to like 17 meters, I don't really consider far. I consider far like 20 plus, but whatever. I have very high standards for that. But for me, farther, And we're just going to break down these positions. In the first one, you can clearly see a stark difference. Well, let me get these to the same position. One, look at my hips in this throw compared to this throw. This one, I'm not actually over my left. My hips are breaking. Sure, I have my, let me get a straight line. I have my, why is it yellow? Oh, whatever. My armpit over my knee, over my toe. But, let me back this one up. If you notice that in relation to my hips. So this one I actually did fall back quite a bit. I always have had a problem with that. But if you notice, I'm not tilted in this one compared to this one. So what that's going to do is it's going to make me not as stacked as I could be. Where this one, I'm really stacked, really over my hip. And that leads to a way better sweep. So here, so let's go to where, okay, left leg stops there. Left leg stops there. Yeah. There. I want you to notice the stark contrast. Okay, let me. Wait, no, that's not right. Hold on. Sorry. This computer program really likes to move when I'm not. Okay, so it stops somewhere around like there. I want you to notice where my sweep is in this one compared to this one. You see how my sweep in this, whoa. Oh, ooh, that's not the straight line. That's why. My sweep in this one is so far behind me compared to here. And that's because I wasn't stacked over my left. So what that's going to do is it's going to delay everything. So I have to be way more patient out the back, but in not a good way, because I'm falling instead of actually actively turning my hips. So you see how like my hips are behind me. My hips are a little bit behind me here, but my sweep is way more active. I'm not tilted down. This was actually something I was doing on purpose. Just like a little phase in my throwing. And then here I rise, but my hips aren't actually under me. Whereas here, my sweep goes all the way around. I hold my chest and I ground here. Whereas where I ground here, look at the relation of my left foot compared to the relation of my left foot here. My left foot's way further behind here, where here it's already past my right leg. So I'm going to have a way faster touchdown here. All right, right here. And what that does is when my left leg is grounded here as opposed to here, look at the stark contrast. I'm actually wrapped. I'm squared to the back. I have a nice T position. Here I'm open. And my right foot isn't turning. Here my right foot still is like not very good. I've always had a problem with that because of my ankle injuries. But, you know, here. But I also want you to notice how much more stacked I am. All right. Like this would be great if I landed like 3 frames earlier. But now I'm here and now I have to pull. So you see how I'm kind of pulling my left side through? Whereas here I'm actually working my right. Like my right hip active. It turns. All right. I have a flat block. And I'm still on the ground, not really pushing at this point. But look at the stark contrast of here. And then here, I'm still square, still pushing against, but the shot's still basically in my hand. Whereas here, 1 frame, the shot's out of my hand. So I didn't get as long contact with the shot as I possibly could have. I'm turning away from it. All right, you see I'm off balance here just a little bit because I landed open and I couldn't turn. Here, I just stroke the shot and stay in. nice and easy. So these throws, while looking kind of similar, like you'd be like, oh, at first glance, like, oh, they look pretty good. The positions I'm hitting in this throw are so much better. Now, I still don't like them because I'm a negative Nancy and I don't like watching my throws. But just the stark contrast between me throwing 15 and me almost throwing 17, big differences. Like in this top video, I relied so much on speed and momentum and trying to get the shot out of my hand as quickly as possible because it feels powerful. But really here, way more linear, no hopping, hips a lot more connected, landing way more stacked, way more better positions, working the shot, working the ground way longer, having a way stronger block, getting more out as well instead of throwing it up like in this video, kind of jumping a little bit at the release in this one. So that's something, the main lesson I want you guys to get from this is basically like there's differences, and this is something I learned because at first, when your whole throwing career, everyone's telling you like, oh, your technique's like great, it looks so good, and then you get that one person that's like, dude, your technique is absolute trash. Like, you're not throwing far, like it looks good, but you're not actually generating power. At first, I will admit it, I was like, man, you're stupid. And then like a month later, after like severe arguments and whatnot, I was finally like, tell me why. And he actually broke it down. And when he's like, oh yeah, you're not actually turning your right foot, like you're not actually working the ground, you're kind of just like hopping through the ring and just moving super fast, but all the energy's in your body instead of the actual implement. And I was like, oh, well, okay, that makes a lot more sense and whatnot. And that changed my whole perspective. So, when you see people that don't look very good, like Yemi Perez, someone that doesn't look very good, like throwing, like just looking, like aesthetically does not look very good throwing. However, she throws 73 meters and is a world champion. So, like Vice Heidinger, me, still hate his technique. I don't like it. But I cannot argue with someone that's throwing 70 meters. So even though I don't like it aesthetically, it's a good technique for him. And so those are the differences. So like you'll see people like they don't look very like aesthetically pleasing when they throw far. Now, I will say when you get really good at technique, that's more of a result is looking good throwing. Like someone like Ryan Krauser looks good throwing, like Joe Kovacs looks good throwing, and they throw far. Because when you do technique right, it will hopefully make you look better. But you have to first look rough and then, yeah. I hope you guys kind of get what I'm saying. It's a very hard concept, and right now, like, especially if you're like in high school or like, you're throwing like 14 meters and you're wondering what you can do to get to that next level. Again, it could just be maybe a strength thing or something and whatever, but most of the times it's literally just positions you're hitting and you just not being disciplined enough and looking at yourself realistically in the mirror, like I did almost my entire career. And yeah, like I look pretty and like, but I'm just doing the same old thing, just relying on my speed, making excuses like, oh, I'm not strong enough and that's why I'm not throwing far and stuff. Or in reality, my strength levels in here compared to here were not honestly that much different. I was stronger here, obviously, but it wasn't like I was squatting 300 here and like 500 here. Like both of these, I was still squatting like in the 400s and like benching like maybe over 3 or something. Like they're not very impressive numbers. But this almost goes 2 meters further because of the fact I hit my positions. All right. Way better. It's just a much more efficient throw. Okay. So that's more of what I'm trying to say. There's a difference between efficiency and just looking good. All right. So I hope this kind of makes sense. it's a very hard thing to kind of describe. It's more of one of those things you just got to be like, you look at your throw, and the easiest way to compare it is think of like your favorite thrower, and that throws pretty similar to you. All right, and compare their positions to your positions. All right, and you'll notice very quickly, like if I compare this throw to like someone like Joe Kovacs, the positions I'm hitting in this throw are so bad compared to what he does. Now, obviously, Joe Kovacs is a 23-meter thrower, and this is me throwing like maybe 15. Even this, like, still wasn't my greatest, like, technical throw ever, but, it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to explain. I hope this makes sense, this concept, because it's a very hard thing to kind of put into words. It's more as if you know. But a good way, like I said, a good way to check basically if your throw is actually efficient is if, one, you're balanced. Because if you're not balanced, because if I was to try and stop in my stand throw here, I would not be balanced. I would not be able to catch myself here. I would be stumbling. Whereas here, I could stop right here easily. So that's the first thing, is if you're not balanced in your throw, you're probably not moving efficiently at all. All right, so that's a first good check. So that's one check you can do, is if you can go out the back at the speed that you would normally throw at. So not slow, because that's cheating, because everyone can move. Well, no, I shouldn't say everyone, but it's very easy to just go slow and just land in a stand throw. But go at like your calm speed without a shot in your hand. If you can land balanced and with minimal movement, you're probably balanced, pretty much. All right. Another one you can check for is if you're very uppy downy. And what I mean by that is like if you like jump out the back and like jump at the front, and like your throw, instead of like a straight line, kind of goes like that. So that's another thing. Or you can just literally just look at positions. You can just look at, what almost every pro hits in their positions, because, if you're like a 22 plus meter shot putter, like a 70-meter discus thrower, like chances are you're pretty good technically, like 99% of the time. So you can compare yourself to them. I know it's very unfair, but you can just look at like the basic stuff they do. Like look at the position like they hit out the back. I can guarantee you none of them look like this when they're throwing far. A lot more of them would look a little more like this. Still not the greatest ever, but yeah. But yeah. I hope this makes sense. So yeah. Thanks for watching. Again, if it doesn't make sense, I can do a whole nother video kind of clearing up this concept. You can ask your coach about this concept if you have one. You can ask me more questions in the comments if you want. So I can like directly answer if there's actual questions and stuff about like your throw in particular. I can try and answer those. And yeah, other than that, thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. I probably won't make another video until after Christmas. And yeah, happy holidays and see y'all later. Thanks for watching.